When the African people rose and the world and history stood behind them, the English handed power to the African National Congress. But if you look at that closely, it was not to the African National Congress. No. It was to a section of people in the African National Congress. People who would be comfortable and happy to be in parliament. People who will not question why the people of Sekhukhune do not benefit from the platinum mines in their own land. It is for that reason that Chris Hani had to die. It is for that reason that Zuma had to be dealt with the way they're dealing with him today. I don't say he did not commit the crimes they say he committed. But Zuma is being dealt with because he talked of radical economic transformation. And radical economic transformation means that the resources of this country must benefit you and I. And for that, Zuma is going to pay. Believe you me, Zuma is going to pay a price. Because the English, in particular the English, are not prepared that you and I should benefit. Because it is not in their interest. They will go to war. The English will go to war. And that is why, politically, they're trying to take everybody amongst the Caucasians. They're trying to take the Afrikaners with them. That is why today you find the Afrikaners within the Democratic Alliance, something which was unknown to the Afrikaners, because they have taught the Afrikaners that our survival as white people is to make sure that the African people remain underdeveloped. So that is the situation we find ourselves. I know that it is treason to talk like this, but I'm in my 80th year now. It's not out of bravery, but it's just a question of even the factional battles that are fought within the African National Congress today are not of their making. They are of, Julius Malema calls it white monopoly capital. It is the English who have set those that go along with them against those that want the African people to be served. Are you with me? And that is why this country is divided into the groupings that you see today. And believe you, Zuma is going to pay a high price for that. He may not be able to articulate it, but that is where we are. There's no way we are going to enjoy, as a people of this country, the mineral resources, the wealth of this country. You're not going to enjoy it. Forget it. A generation will have to come that will have to continue the struggle. And I think Malema and company have gotten a bit of an understanding. That is why they call themselves the economic freedom fighters. It is because of the realization that we were given parliament to rubber stamp the constitution. Because the constitution of this country is not meant for you and I. It is not meant for African people. It is meant to protect the erstwhile colonizer. It is meant to protect the erstwhile oppressor. Look at it closely. Of the many cases that the Democratic Alliance has taken to court, they have won them. Of the cases that are based on the Constitution that go to court today are cases that are taken to court by AfriForum. Because they have realized, the English have made them realize, that this Constitution is meant to protect you, not the African people. But on the other hand, we have been prepared, and they continue to prepare us, to tell the people of this country that this constitution is for them. It is the best constitution in the world. Look, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. How can the slave master come with a document that says, today I am preparing, or together with the slave, we are preparing a constitution that will be in the best interest of the slave? It doesn't make sense. It has never happened. It will never happen. The slave master can never and will never prepare something that will be in the interest of the slave. Ngeke. So that is the tragedy of where we are today, unfortunately. You are going to wait for a generation. You may wait for another 100 years, but you are going to wait for another generation of young men and women who will stand up and say, no, so far and no more. The contribution of the PAC was to articulate the aspirations of the African people. Unfortunately, the Pan-Africanist Congress undermined the enemy. They played into the hands of the enemy. From day one, the enemy of the African people had dealt the PAC a blow. And it is for that reason that we, the generation that is remaining, have to make sure that the young women and girls who grow up today don't know who Mangaliso Sobukwe is, because they'll start asking questions. We are doing this for our masters, whether consciously or subconsciously or unconsciously. We are doing the dirty job for the British. We are burying Sobukwe, we are burying Da, we are burying Anton Mziwa Kelembete. The younger generation that is coming should never know who those people were. Because if they know who those people were, then they will know what the struggle was all about. And they will stand up and fight. So the PAC undermined the enemy. They made their intentions public. Look at the Middle East. The Egyptians were defeated because when they were preparing to fight Israel, they announced. The Israelites didn't say anything, they just kept quiet and attacked them. The PAC announced before they were ready to fight. And by the time they started preparing, the enemy was so many miles ahead of them, and they crushed them. But the contribution that PAC has made, God willing, will help when those young men who are not yet born, the young women who are not yet born, when they come back, they will ask the question. And they'll come to know the truth. That is in my view, that is the contribution which PAC must forget about going to Parliament. They can't go to Parliament because the erstwhile oppressor has so beautifully articulated the so-called constitution, that this is the ultimate freedom that an African can achieve. That when a PAC person speaks, people look at him and they say, Wahlani, is he mad? Understand? So PAC must forget about going. I understand and appreciate it, that as human beings, we want a better life. Some PAC people would want to go to parliament and get that salary. But our erstwhile oppressors will never allow that. In fact, we in the Pan-Africanist Congress are doing that job for them. We are making sure that PAC does not survive. And we are being paid handsomely for that. Because the young people, the danger to the erstwhile oppressor is the young person. You understand? The difference between me and that young man walking there is that before I do anything, I think of my wife, I think of my daughter, I think of my grandchild, and I think of paying rent. And that young man doesn't care. You provoke him. He hits back, she hits back. Understand? So, the best way of making sure that that young person does not hit back is to make sure that the voice of the Pan-Africanist Congress is not heard. And they are paying me to do that. That is why you'll never see a successful Pan-Africanist Congress conference. You'll never find it. Not today. You are not in my lifetime. You are not going to get it. Because if somebody in PAC organizes a conference or something that Mtimunye is being given 500,000 rands, 2 million rands, 3 million, to make sure that that conference does not take place. Or if it takes place, to make sure that it is deviated. They pay me to take the Pan-Africanist Congress to court, so that this process is delayed for as long as is humanly possible. No slave master had willingly and of his or her own free will given power to a slave. It has never happened. It will not happen. I can guarantee you that it is not going to happen. So PAC should just be happy that they have contributed, and that's it. If they want to, if they want to take this struggle further, they'll have to go back to the drawing board and do what they didn't do more than 60 years ago. They must go and do that. But thinking that they will do it in the nature of, it is not going to happen. Angeke. They must forget. It will not happen. They will be getting in and out of court every day. It is not going to happen. I'm prepared to put my head on the block. It's not going to happen. If the erstwhile oppressor can do it to a member of the ANC like Zuma, what more? Or the followers of Sobuk. It's not going to happen.